Hi students, in this video we are learning the garbage collection in Java. What's mean by garbage? What's mean by garbage? What's mean by garage means nothing but in our regular life we are throwing away any wastage material, So this will be collected by some people and thrown to one dumping yard. So all the wastage items are collecting by one person. That person is called a garbage collector. That person in our regular life, we call it as a garbage collector. So what is in regular life? The person who is collecting, who is collecting the wastage items and sending it to dumping yard. Dumping yard is called a garbage collector. The responsibility of the garbage collector is to gather all these wastage items. In the same particular, in Java also, so the objects occupy memory. That is a point we know. Occupies memory. Now, whenever the object is no longer, when object is no longer, then the allocated memory of that object will be destroyed automatically by the JVM. By the JVM. This is the point you have to know. In C++ language, in C++ language, object creation and destroy will be done by the programmer. That means us. So we are having the type of facilities in C++, whereas in case of Java, object creation is done by the programmer and destroy will be takes place and destroy will be done through JVM. This is the point you have to know that. So what will be takes place from one to the other. So when the object is deletable, when the object is having a useless object, when the object is a useless object, when the object is a no more or useless object, when it will be makes no more, that means the object is no more. So there are three cases. One is when you assign null value to the object, then that object memory collection. Null value to the object is final. Second one, when object is reassigned to another object. This is another case. The third case, by anonymous object. In three cases, and also the fourth case also possible. Inside a method, when you create an object, after method execution, objects are deleted. Now the first case, how to assign the null value. Now I am saying here how to assign. Let us go for test is an object. T1 is test is a class. T1 is an object. I am assigning new test. I am creating an object. Now whenever you see that test is equal to null, then here the case T1 is no longer, T1 object is no longer, so it goes to garbage collection. It goes to garbage collection. The point is clear. Now the second one, when the object is reassigning. So for this one, I am creating some apple class. Apple A1 is equals to new apple. So ignore the spellings from my side. Apple. So after that, I can create one more object. Apple 2 is equals to apple A2 is equals to new apple. Then obviously, whenever I go for A2 is equals to A1, now here A1 object no longer exists. A1 object no longer exists. So this all we have to understand in case of garbage collection. Now what's mean the anonymous object? Without any name to an object, this is called new test. This is also called as a object will be go for garbage collection. Garbage collection. Now the fourth method, what is mean by inside the method? Now let us understand. For a class, I am creating a class A. I am creating here. So this is the called some bag is there. I am creating a method void m1. So inside this one, I am creating a object for the bag class. Bag B1 is equals to new bag. So followed by one more object, bag B2 is equals to new bag. Then whenever I call this one in another object, so another class. Now here let us go for test is the main code. Now I am writing the public static void main. Public static void main. So inside the main, I have to pass the string class arguments. S is capital, string class arguments. After that, inside this one, when I create an object of bag class, bag some B is equals to new bag. Then when I call B dot M1 method, so whenever you invoking the M1 method, whenever you activating the M1 method, so the controller goes from here to here and starts creating the two objects. Whenever it is not coming back to the original position, the B1 objects and B2 objects are no longer exist. The two objects will go for garbage collection. So inside the method, if you create any object, inside the method, when you create any object, inside the method, when you create an object, when it is invoked by the other method, now these two objects will be destroyed whenever it comes back to the original control. Now this here, in this case, the B1 object and B2 object will go for garbage collection. That is the point you have to know. So all these previously explained, these are the four ways are there. So one is by creating the null, by assigning the null, by reassigning the object to other object, and anonymous object where there is no name, and inside the method. In these four cases, the object will be deleted. And one more point you have to understand that whenever you go for, I am taking an A. So I am taking an A1. Now see, here is the system class, predefined class and object package. Now here in this system class, we are having a void GC method, which is a static. It is calling the finalize method. Now you have to understand how the program will be executed. Now whenever you assign the as a null value to GC, it will call the GC method. It will call the GC method. And GC method will be called the finalize method. Now finalize code, this code will be executing. How it is having the finalize method is the one method of an object class. Our class is extending from the object class, our class, the child class, we can override the finalize method with our own implementations. Now, for every object, like the reassigning or the anonymous object, our method will be having objects in all cases. In all cases, it will call the GC call the finalize. Once again, I'm going for, if ever you again you go for, there are two objects, G2 is equal to G1, and here the G1 is no longer exists. In these cases, it called the GC. GC will be executed and it will call the other method called finalize method. To execute the finalize method, we have to call the GC, which is the static method of system. So obviously the finalize code will be executed. So this, in this way, the garbage collection will be taken place from our Java execution. Our Java program, whenever the objects are no longer exist, we can go for them object creation. So we are doing the same thing. Now let us go for a small example here. Now this is an, I am writing the same thing where I can go for gar, the main method. So finalize method will be there whenever I am assigning. So here I am assigning the G1 is G is equals to null, and after that G is equals to null. I am calling the here. So system dot which method? System dot GC method. It will call the finalize method. It call the finalize method. Now whenever null is there, now we can go for the, it will call the finalize method execution, and this object memory is collected. That is the thing we have to take place. How it will be takes place in our Java program. Let us go for execution. Now screen is there. I am executing the method called gear.java. Now here I have to save the file. So I have to save the file. I am saving it before execution. So gar.java. Now successfully, without no errors, it is compiled. Now I am executing by giving the command Java followed by main method class name gar. Now here object memory is collected. To get this is the result, object memory is collected. To get the this is a result, how it will be, who are, this is a which method statement? Finalize method statement. Who is calling the finalize? Now when you pass null value to the object, now it will call the system.gc. It will call the finalize method and this code will be executing. In our program, we are not declaring the finalize method. See the code, we never declare the finalize method, just we define. We are not declaring the finalize method. It is the declaration in the system.gc code. It is having the system.gc code which will be seen in the earlier screen. Which will be seen in the earlier screen. This is the one where we have to see that GC will call the finalize method. So one more example, sir. One more example. Now see here, I am writing another one where I am getting the two objects as a null objects. Two objects as a null. Similarly, how many times the system.gc will be executing? Now it will be executing 2 times for T1 object and for T2 object. Now I am creating 2 objects and T1 is equal to T2. Otherwise, I can go for one more creating an object. So T3 object. So T3 object I am creating. So here I am passing here T3 is equals to T2. T3 is equals to T2. In the first statement, T1 will goes to garbage collection. T1 object goes to garbage collection. And here which objects? T2 will go to garbage collection. T2 object goes to garbage collection. And this finalize method will be executing for 2 times. How many times? 2 times. How it will be? One, this will approach to the GC method. It will call first time. Again for T3 object will call the second time. So here object destroyed will be, output will be coming for 2 times. I am saving the program and see the execution, how it will executed. I save the program with the test gar class name and we will see the result. Now I can go for Java C followed by test gar.java. Test gar.java. Now it is executing and I can compile the program Java followed by test gar. Sorry, small letter. So I missed that gar is the small letter. Now it is successfully compiled. Now I can go for, so the execution test followed by gar. object is destroyed. Now we can go for two objects will be destroyed. See, how many times it will be coming? Two times it will be coming. So assigning this one for one time and assigning the T2 object to T3 for two times. Two times it will be executed. Simple thing. Whenever the object is no longer exists, it will call the system.gc. System.gc will be called the which method? Finalize method. Now again I am giving an clarification once again, ma, no doubt here at all. Now here we are having, so whenever you pass the objects as a T1 object or T2 object or anything, I can save here T1 is equal to null, or we can go for T3 is assigned to T2 and T1, T2 are the object of same class. Now whenever this will be there, now these will be called which method? Which method? So it will be called the another method called system.gc. System.gc. In the system.gc, we are having its code. So now control skip from method definition to method declaration to method definition. Now here we are having system.gc. In which class? Class called system. It is a one method called which method? Static method. And it is a public one to access anywhere. We are having static, void the return type, and what is the class? What is the method name? GC is the method name. In this method, this method calls a finalize method. It's called finalize method. Now finalize method can be overridden. It belongs to an object class. So I am writing my finalize code here. I am writing my finalize code here in my program. In my program, I am defining my own definitions. Public void, which method? Finalize method. So finalize method, this will calls. So finalize method. Now our own definitions will be executed. Now let us understand the approachment. Now I am for first object, it will call the GC. GC code will be executed. It calls the finalize method. In another term, whenever the T2 object is assigned to T3, it will call the GC. GC call the system method. It calls the finalize method, and this code will be executed. And finalize method we have to override in our class if necessary. Our class is an object child class. In the object class, it is a finalize method. It can be override with our new version. That's all to indicate that what is meant by Garbbage, how it will be working. Now again, it will be, this is the working of things. So Garbbage, so when you assign a null value to the object, it will go for Garbbage collection, and reassigning from one object to another object, it will call the GC method. Again, anonymous object inside the method. After method execution, the objects created in that method will be destroyed. So this is the small thing about the Garbbage collection. You can write this program or this program. So in the examiner's point of view, you can write any program to tell that how the Garbbage collection will be executed. So thanks for each and everyone to seeing my videos. If you cannot understand, you can ask any doubts. Otherwise, rewind, start seeing from first onwards and write down the point to point. Then you can easily understand. Thanks to one and all.